I spent 3 days in Cartagena. Pretty cool place. Lots of dancing and stuff. I don't dance, but I do take photographs. So in this video, I'm gonna give you 3 spots and 3 tips for 3 days of photography in Cartagena. Hi, if we haven't met yet, I'm Ken. I'm an amateur photographer learning photography right here along with you. I'm also the creator of the online community called The Big Photo Hunt, which is arguably the world's most friendly photography community. It's really friendly. So whether you're a photographer and you're going to Cartagena for photography, or you're just going to Cartagena and you want to just take some amazing pictures, I want to share what I experienced with you so that you can get the most out of your photography, particularly when it comes to the 3 spots that I'm going to mention, because one of them, the third one, is probably one that you haven't considered, but absolutely should. And then at the end of the video, I want to talk to you about safety and security in Cartagena, because I can't get through a sentence about my travels in Colombia without being asked about safety while I'm there. Let's get into the spots first. Spot number 1, and the most famous part of Cartagena, is the Walled City. I actually stayed in the Walled City. We had a really cool Airbnb. You just opened your door and you were like right there in it. It's perfect for street photography. There are a lot of cobbled streets, balconies everywhere with bougainvillea. It is gorgeous. If you're into street photography, it's gonna be good for you. You'll find a mix of tourist and local activity to take photos of. And if you're into colonial buildings and architecture, like, this is your spot. There are things just popping out at you on every corner, every turn you take. The one thing I'll tell you though is that it is packed with people. So if you want to have less people in your photos, then you're gonna wanna get up early in the day, particularly during golden hour in the morning. It's beautiful and there's nobody on the streets. I like people in my photography, so I was fine going out later in the day. And being later in the day, I found that you actually didn't have to worry too much about direct sunlight when you were in the Walled City, because the buildings and the streets are so narrow that a lot of times you were getting shadows and you were always shooting in the shadows anyway. And then at nighttime, the place just pops. Lights and color and just lots of activity. It's very compact, very walkable, and very easy to explore. There are a lot of street vendors, lots of musicians, and there's markets to see. There's just a lot happening within the Walled City. If you'd like to take photos of activity and action, and if you're going in there on a vacation to get some great vacation shots of your family and friends doing things, the Walled City is perfect. What I didn't love as much were that there was a lot of activity and a lot of tourists there. Although I love to photograph people, I just wasn't into capturing just lots of tourist photography. Authenticity is important to me, which I'll talk about in the 3rd location that I'm gonna recommend here for you, because that was my favorite. There were cafes and stuff, and so from a photography standpoint, there are some cool shots to get of people like pouring coffees, pour-overs. It's Colombia after all, and coffee is their thing. The coffee shops, though, they were more tourist-oriented. Totally cool, and I loved it, but if you're looking for something that is more authentic Colombian and more cultural driven, that's not gonna be found within the Walled City. So just to set your expectations. Oh, and here's the La Gorda Gertrude statue. If you touch the boobs, you're supposed to like get good luck. You could see how like everyone touches them. Moving along, spot number 2 is Getsemaní, and this is another neighborhood next to the Walled City. Also tourist driven, not as packed as the Walled City. It's more of an artist type of community.
It's like a bodega here, and then there's some guy selling something here, and people keep walking in and out. It's like a combination of like locals and tourists.
Again, lots of tourists, but you'll find murals and cool colors and a little bit more grit and rawness than you would find in the Walled City. Great place for photos, street photography, some architecture photography, and if you are into more of that authentic feeling, that vibe of, hey, this is a little less developed or a little bit less built for tourists, even though kind of it is, you'll find a lot of that here, a lot of cool stuff to photograph. And finally, my 3rd and most favorite spot, and perhaps one of my most favorite spots for photography just on my list, was Bazurto Marketplace. I could spend all day there. I didn't spend all day there, and I'll explain why in a second. But what you'll find is it is a market that is essentially, it looks like hundreds or possibly thousands of just tin structures with tin roofs all put together, with food stalls where they're literally just cooking your food on fire right there. Authentic Colombian food, fruits, vegetables, fish, meats.
Oh yeah.
Electronics, clothing, it is where the locals shop, and it was remarkable. You're gonna wanna go to Bazurto with a guide, and there are two reasons for that. The first is because it's a maze and you need a guide. And the second is, it is local. I never felt threatened, but there have been stories about people possibly, you know, getting robbed or something. I don't know, but it is advised to go with a guide. The guide that we went with, his name was Damon, and he runs something called Cheap and Safe Cartagena, and it was both cheap and safe, and he was great.
Which is the real Cartagena area. Today we are at the market, Bazurto Market. This is the center of our economy.
I'll put Damon's information in the description below. He is not a photographer, but that doesn't matter in this case. He knows his stuff and he knows where to take you. He also took us to Barrio Chino, which is Chinatown. It's not Chinatown anymore. It was Chinatown, but we were able to photograph there.
For desayuno?
Desayuno, claro. Desayuno.
Bazurto, as a photographer, it attacks all of your senses. If you like to photograph markets, this takes the cake. Do not miss Bazurto Market. The reason I didn't stay was because the night before I got food poisoning, and it really decided to show up when I was at Bazurto Market. And to give you an idea, when I said to Damon, hey man, I think I've got a problem, he was just kind of like, man, I don't think there's any bathrooms here. And so we found what was kind of like, I don't know, it wasn't really a bathroom, but we found someplace, and I had an emergency and I had to go home. So go to Bazurto Market. Bazurto, go. Remarkable. I want to get into the 3 tips that I have for you, but before I do that, I just want to mention there's an area called Bocagrande, which you'll hear about. That was just not appealing to me. It may be to you. It's more Miami. It's just a lot of like high rises and beaches. For photography, that didn't do it for me. And then there's the Rosario Islands, which people go out on day trips. We did go out to the Rosario Islands. It was pretty, but for me, if I only have 3 spots that I can spend my time photographing in Cartagena, that would not be on my list. The Walled City, Getsemaní, and Bazurto Market. I would go back to Cartagena with my camera just for Bazurto Market. The first tip is, and this sounds like common sense, but we missed this one. Cartagena is in the Caribbean and it is hot. I mean, hot and humid, so be prepared for that.
Ted's got a fan on his neck. He's wearing like a thing and it's got like 2 fans blowing up on his face.
We found it every single day to be 90 degrees Fahrenheit or north and what felt like 100% humidity. Okay, number 2, and this is just a style thing. There is so much color in Cartagena that you just want to capture that color and make it pop. A lot of primary colors, whether you're in the Walled City or Getsemaní, just get that color and just create some beautifully saturated images. And tip number 3 is the gear that you should bring. I don't think you need a telephoto lens since Cartagena is mostly like a denser urban environment. I think you'll find yourself using more of like a 35mm. I brought a 35. I also had my 24-70. I found that was enough. Also, you want to be a little bit more tight with your stuff. With any tourist destination, you've got to watch out for pickpockets. To have a small bag with a camera with 1 lens right there in a sling was really important to me. All right, let's get to safety. But wait, before we get to safety, this is the time in the video where I'm supposed to say, hey, if you like what you're watching, why don't you subscribe, click the thumbs up and the little notification bell. I would love for you to do that. The more subscribers we get, the more this channel can grow. But I'd ask you to check out the Big Photo Hunt, which is the online community that I started. It is arguably the world's most friendly photography community. It's really friendly. I was trying to figure out how to communicate the security situation in Cartagena without trivializing it and without making anyone nervous. Years past, Colombia obviously had a lot of troubles with drugs and kidnapping and crime and got a reputation as a dangerous place. And what I found in Cartagena is that it is no more dangerous than any other tourist destination that you'll go to in the world. I would also argue that when it comes to like pickpocketing and petty crime on tourists and scams, I think you'll find less of that there than you will in a lot of the popular tourist destinations of the world, like Rome, Paris, Barcelona. I mean, when you go to those places, there are pickpockets every 10 feet. What you do find in Cartagena, less of a crime issue, but more of just an annoyance, is every time you walk out of your door, you are inundated with people trying to sell you things. And there are scammers that are kind of worked in there a little bit. There are these guys that come up and rap and then want money. That to me is the extent of a lot of what I found in Cartagena. Now, you can't just like run around with like your camera out in the air and, money flying around. But if you are a seasoned traveler and you've traveled through Latin America and through other places in the world, I don't think you'll find Cartagena to be any different than any other destination you've been to. By the way, if you're watching this video and you've got comments or other tips for people that are going to go as photographers to Cartagena, please put it in the comments below. I would love to share that information with everybody. Enjoy the ceviche and sunshine. I'll see you in my next video.